And I think this will be a good meeting to refer to friends, because we're going to learn a lot about the process it takes to go after subsidized housing.
So, welcome everyone. My name is Landon Rank. I'm the Director of Programs at SB Act, and this is a partnership with the City of Goleta as a part of our broader efforts throughout South Santa Barbara County to try to address homelessness. So, I'm joined by Chuck Flax, who's the Homeless Services Coordinator for the City of Goleta. We also have with us today Mayor Parodi from the City of Goleta. Thank you for being here, Mayor. So as we start today, I just wanted to make mention the fact that this is typically really focused on homelessness, but today our perspective is broadening a little bit because we wanted to talk about affordable housing in general. So if you are here to talk about homelessness issues, we will likely have some time at the end of the meeting for that today. But the main thrust of today's meeting will be about affordable housing. So I want to start by just sharing we do have these meetings once a month. Typically, it would be on the fourth Monday of the month at 9 or at noon, excuse me. But next month that would be on Memorial Day. So instead, we will be meeting on the 18th of the month of May at noon. We'll have a different topic then. I don't know, Chuck, if you want to give a preview about that now, or if we just want to save it.
I think I need to confirm that internally, and then we'll get back to you.
Great. I did want to just share, though, that since this is generally a homelessness meeting, there are a lot of different resources through the City of Goleta. I'm just going to mention one of them here, and then I'll let Chuck share if he wants to any others. But within the City of Goleta, Chuck has worked really hard to create a resource directory for citizens in the City of Goleta. So if you are, observing any issues related to homelessness, you know who to call or who to contact to address those issues. So this resource is available on the City of Goleta's website, and I'm going to share the link to that in the chat. But we do just want you to know, I think more than anything, that the City of Goleta has invested a lot in all these different resources and services so that we can really try and address the issue of homelessness from all angles. So
And
Chuck, I don't know if you want to add anything. Go
yeah,
ahead.
what Landon is showing is actually outdated. I will make sure that on the website is the most recent one.
Great. So don't copy any phone numbers from this one specifically. So as I mentioned, today's topic is really how to access affordable housing. And so we're going to be talking about this hopefully from a practical standpoint, so that we can try and provide that information to anybody who might be wondering how they could get access to affordable housing. This is a real need in our whole region, as we all know. And so we have a couple of different folks that are going to be sharing today from the City of Goleta, from Good Samaritan, and from Partners in Housing Solutions, who are all doing different kinds of work in this area. So I'm going to start with Chuck with the City of Goleta just to share a little bit of an overview before we turn it to Alexis.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not going to talk about affordable housing right now. That's going to be our guest speakers. What I am going to talk about is our monthly data on homelessness for the City of Goleta. I'll bring that up. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So this is a monthly report that I generate from primarily the information that is in the homelessness management information system, as well as our outreach observations. So it's the most up-to-date data we have on what's going on in Goleta in terms of homelessness. So the first picture, the first table, it's not a table, it's a chart. The first chart is shows where everybody is in Goleta in term when being homeless. The big blue bar is the count of homelessness by month. And as you can see, about 40, a little around 40 plus are in vehicles. That's the green bar. The orange bar are people that are currently in shelter. And part of the reason we see a decline in March is that people started to move into the Patterson Point housing project out of the shelters. And then the blue bar are people living in encampments. And as you can see, just over the last few months, we've seen some decline there as well. Over the last year, we've seen a 50% reduction in people experiencing homelessness in Goleta. I think there's a lot of factors that contribute to this. Many of our homeless population are mobile, so some of this reflects people leaving the Goleta area. However, there's been quite a bit of housing that's been built. This is the permanent supportive housing at we have Buena Tierra, we have Patterson Point. There's a couple of projects in the city of Santa Barbara. And when people move into housing, that frees up, actually the shelter beds would be counted here. I can't fully explain this. I think a lot of it has to do with people just being able to get what they need. We have a tremendous, as Landon pointed out, we have a tremendous amount of resources dedicated to Goleta, and people know about it. And so people are finding ways to get out of homelessness, and my hope is get to places that are better for them. The sad part of our numbers is the flow. And so you'll see typically the blue line are people coming into homelessness, and the orange line are the number of people that we house. And I don't do the housing, that's the folks on this call, the different nonprofits that support people getting into housing. But as you can see that in the most recent quarter, 18 people identified as homeless, 13 were housed in the most recent quarter. That's a really good ratio. We want to see more of that. Overall, over the past year, 108 people identified as homeless newly, and 61 were housed. So we're still looking at about a 2-to-1 ratio, which is not unusual. Most places around the country, that ratio exists. And so one of the things that we're working on locally, and Alexis is a big part of that, I don't think she's going to necessarily talk about that program today, but is working on prevention, helping people find solutions to the possibility of homelessness before they end up homeless and end up in our homeless data. Currently Good Sam operates with the county a hotline, and maybe Alexis can put that number in the chat. This hotline number is if someone is at risk of homelessness, they can call this number and get support so that they don't become homeless. In terms of populations of people, these are populations we report to the state and the federal government because they're more vulnerable populations. So seniors represent a pretty significant number of people who are homeless in Goleta. That's a higher percentage of seniors than is in the typical population in Goleta. Transition age youth, we've actually been very successful in finding places for people to go. So only 4 in Goleta are listed as homeless. And then in terms of veterans, we've been fortunate that we just don't have a lot of veterans coming into Goleta who are homeless. The height was that we had 4. Now we have none. Chronic homelessness, which is defined in this paragraph, is often the most difficult state of homelessness to address because people often have been homeless a very long time. And it's hard for them to trust that we're going to help them. It's hard for them to believe that they're going to get the services they need. So we have to work hard and continue to connect with those people. And in Goleta, we have a disproportionate number of our population are chronically homeless, 63%. So it makes our job harder, but we have a lot of people on this call who are being very successful and continue to work with these folks. One of our council members, Councilman Kasdan, asked that we correlate the number of people who experience homelessness, chronic homelessness, with seniors. And this too is kind of a sad picture because you have the total population of seniors experiencing homelessness. That's 35 people in Goleta. And you have the total population of people who are chronically homeless in Goleta, and there's a pretty big overlap. So 71% of seniors who are homeless in Goleta are chronically homeless. And then of those who are chronically homeless, 47% are seniors. And so clearly this is a bit of a crisis that we want to make sure we're offering every conceivable service that we can to these very vulnerable folks. The good news is that there's a lot more senior housing around the county that keeps getting created. I mean, we're an aging population in the county, and so the need for senior housing is really recognized. And so we're working with them to try to place them. And then finally, to terms of sources of or amount of income and sources of income. So in general, incomes are pretty low. This is per month. 20% make 2,000 a month or above. With rents typically being $2,500 and above, that makes it very difficult for any of our population to be able to afford rent. That's kind of the bad news. The good news is that most of our folks, or almost the majority, 49%, have earned income. And so one of the initiatives that we're working on countywide is to really encourage our outreach providers, our shelter providers, our housing providers to work closely with our population and increase the amount of earned income they're able to receive. 29% are retired. That means or 17% are disabled. That's this group, a large group, is on fixed incomes. And so their ability to get increased incomes can be more challenging. So that's the report on Goleta for this month. Are there any questions?
Chuck, can you please clarify that the number of homeless reflected on this chart, that's those people that are just actually identifying as homeless, correct?
You mean on all these charts?
Well, and your beginning charts when you're showing
Yeah, no, actually, no. Well, in the case of people living in vehicles, yes. So we know that there are many more than 40 people living in vehicles in Goleta. The numbers have been counted by New Beginnings as high as 200 or even 250 people on a given night. But if they don't tell us they're homeless, then we can't really count them as homeless. And so these numbers reflect the number of people that are enrolled in homeless services who are living in vehicles. Yes. In terms of the encampments and shelter, well, shelter, you have to be homeless to be in shelter. But encampments, these are people that we've identified even who are beyond those in HMIS because we have a lot of outreach support who have identified people. Cora, did you have a question?
Oh,
okay. All right. Well, I'm eager to hear from our housing people, so I'll turn it back to Landon and stop sharing if I can figure out how to stop. Here we go. Too many screens.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yep.
And I did mention earlier I would put the link in the chat. So now there's the link for all things homelessness in the city of Goleta. And then I see Alexis also put the housing problem solving hotline in the chat, and I'm guessing you're going to talk about that in your presentation too. So I'll leave it to you to share that. But I will give it over to Alexis Mishmamba from the Good Samaritan.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Landon. So today I'm going to talk about accessing affordable housing, and I'm going to go over some really practical things that you can do to get hopefully yourself or folks you know into affordable housing. I will say it's not an easy task, but there is success we see through affordable housing, and I will say I'm not the housing authority, so there could be some nuances to certain things, but I'm going to direct you how I would access it, which would be not someone who works there. So that might be good because I assume for all of you, you would access it the exact same way. So just a little bit about myself before I jump in. I'm the director of housing for Good Samaritan Shelter. And so we are housing about 400 people or keeping them housed every year. And so we're working with different models. We provide support services at like Buena Tierra and some other places up north. We're doing rapid rehousing. And so I have a team of about 15 housing navigators, and that's their whole job, is looking for housing and trying to get folks connected to housing. And so these are just some discussions. I talked with some of them on Friday to kind of get their pointers. And so let me go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So when I think about affordable housing, I really think of it as this big old dartboard. And whenever we're looking for housing, we have to throw a lot of darts. Now, on this picture, we see obviously the goal is to get it in the bullseye. For us, when we are helping somebody find housing, we want to throw all kinds of darts because all it takes is one housing opportunity to be the right fit. And so I'm going to share several different affordable housing types of wait lists to get on. I'm also going to talk about some creative affordable housing. For definition's sake, when I'm talking about affordable housing, there's two kind of definitions. One is what we think of as standard, which is where there's a subsidy involved. And a subsidy is where there's a partial rent assistance coming from an outside source. So for example, if an apartment costs $2,000 and there's a subsidy for, let's say, $1,800, and the participant will pay $200 or the person will pay less. And so there's help with the rent, so it's not a full burden on a person of the full rent. Another definition of affordable housing is simply housing that can be affordable to your budget. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about both, but the first thing I'm going to really dive into is affordable housing in terms of what we think of traditional affordable housing with a government subsidy. Some people will think of vouchers, or there's also apartment complexes. There's also something called tax credit. It doesn't all matter to understand, but all of these are different ways in which rent support can happen. And so that the person who goes into the unit doesn't have to pay the full rent for themselves. And so what I'm going to share, if you or someone you are working with or a friend, I think Landon mentioned this is recorded, are looking for housing, my first recommendation is do not put all your eggs in one basket. Throw out all the dartboards, cast a wide net. And because what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get on all these different wait lists, and all it takes is the one right fit. If you're only applying to one thing, you may limit yourself and be on a wait list for many, many years. And so I want to encourage everyone to apply for everything, even if in the very moment you're applying, you'll think, I would never move to Carpinteria. I don't like it there. Could never see myself moving to Carpinteria. Well, maybe in 6 months or a year, if your name gets pulled, your situation has changed. And now your grandchild has moved to Carpinteria, and it would be great to live there. But your disposition can change over time, and it's better to have options that you can decline than have less options. And so that's why I really like the visual of the dartboard, because we're just throwing all of our options out there and we're just looking for one. So let me dive in. Locally, we have two housing authorities. The housing authorities are the local authorities, I guess, for lack of a better word, who are administering public housing. And this is the subsidized housing in the regions. And so there's the city of Santa Barbara, and then there's the county of Santa Barbara. And there's acronyms for them. There's HASBARCO or HASB. Now, it's important to get on both. My advice, again, this is according to me, is to get on both wait lists. And so I'm going to click on the links, and I'm going to just show you where I would click if I'm navigating that. Also, we'll be able to share all of this so you can have the direct links for yourself. So the first is the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Barbara. When you go to this link, it's going to take you to their webpage here. It's an online portal. Some people do not do the best with the online portal. They do have an in-person option. It's in Lompoc. It's not as it may not be as ideal, but online is really the best way to keep track of your application, because you can quickly do updates there, and you can quickly see your status on the wait list. And so when you come to this website, maybe the first thing is, if you have already opened yourself on a wait list, you want to keep your information relevant, but maybe you've locked yourself out of the portal. If you on this website, all the way at the bottom, first of all, these are very helpful videos on how to navigate getting into the portal, multiple videos here, and basically a step-by-step guide. But on the very bottom of this webpage is a number that you can call right here. So if you already, this is not for your first time. This is if you have access with getting into the portal, okay? If you're just setting up, so for example, let me go back up to the top here. Again, these are all steps to help you navigate applying. So right now I can look at the local preference information and waiting lists. This is going to tell me what wait lists are currently open and accepting applications in the portal. So Creekside Apartments in Los Alamos, these are folks with a farm worker preference that can apply. That's someone who works in the agricultural industry can apply. There's a senior apartments taking applications in Lompoc. There's Escalante in Guadalupe, and then there's also these other Lompoc properties as well. Right here, anyone that meets the VLI income limit. So there are different income limits throughout the application process. But the best thing to do is have your information ready, your income ready as you're filling it out so you can put in the proper income. One thing I'm going to advise on is when you're filling out these applications, you want to take your time and be as accurate as possible. Because if you have errors, it's going to hold you up in the long run. And so take your time and really fill out the application well, and then you can update. There's preferences given in the county for folks that are residents of the county who are from working families, or they're elderly individuals or disabled, their veteran status, or if they've been displaced by different actions such as HUD programs or government actions. That's more uncommon. But this is where to start. So again, the link and then you can check your waitlist status here. It's very satisfying to go in and see when you've jumped up, and you can update information as well. But you want to start right here and you want to apply online. And when you're applying online, you're going to want to, like I said, maybe you're like, Los Alamos, who wants to live in Los Alamos? I get it. That's not where you are from, where you want to live, but it doesn't hurt to just select all that apply and then wait and see your options, your disposition. Things could change over time. Some people sometimes just want a change of scenery. So that's the county website, and that's to navigate. And again, if you are locked out of that portal, there's that phone number all the way on the bottom of this page where you can get assistance to get back in. And then you're going to want to update when you move or your phone number changes, things like that. Now, the city of Santa Barbara also has their application available through their portal right here. And if you require a paper application because you would like to request a reasonable accommodation because it's not possible for you to do online, you can call this number and they will help you as well. And they can also help you troubleshoot. And any questions so far? Perfect. Okay, so these are the two main housing authorities that you want to go to first. Then, oops, did I skip a slide? Okay, there are other affordable housing opportunities in our community, and I've listed a few here. And so there are different units that different nonprofits have, and that they have subsidized differently as well. So, for example, People's Self-Help Housing is a affordable housing provider, and they have vacancies listed here. It's really handy. You can go to whatever county. We're going to say Santa Barbara County, and we're going to look at what they have. So they have a property that you can pre-apply in Carpinteria, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. They have property in Goleta, Santa Barbara, Carp. They have all kinds of stuff that you would select the pre-apply online. And so depending on your interest, again, and there's some different criteria, for example, and it's listed here. So who is this? So these Isla Vista apartments, for example, in Goleta, this is a 56 unit rental complex located near UCSB. They're 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. And these are for low income households and farm workers. And so it's a specific, if you're a farm worker, if you are a low income household, you would be able to apply here. There's also the Santa Barbara Community Housing Corporation, which has some units as well. And I have not navigated their application process in a while, but same thing. You can download it here, and then you can submit it here. I think you have to download it and submit it to them. And then there's also St. Vincent's, which has some affordable housing. Particularly, I know they have some for families and seniors, and their application and information is also on their website. And so a very good place to start is going through and applying to all of these places. When these are all going to come with some type of subsidy attached. I want to talk about the other way we find affordable housing, which is thinking outside the box. So one thing that makes housing affordable is when the costs are split. And so all of us have our ideal vision of housing in our mind, but then there's the reality of what we can afford. And we live in a really tight rental market, really tight. It's less than 2% housing vacancy rate. And so because of that, we need to get creative. When I survey my staff, again, who are mostly housing navigators, I would say 95% or higher are living in a shared housing situation. That's where more than one adult is sharing the expenses for their home. Sometimes it's a partner, sometimes it's a friend, sometimes there's 4 or 5 roommates that are all renting rooms in a larger house. And so thinking of ideal housing versus what's affordable, you can really cut down costs for housing when you are sharing the cost of a unit with someone. It also makes you a more attractive tenant when you are looking for a private landlord, because your income is more, because now there's more than one income earner in the house. And so I just want to really encourage you to also be creative and think that, if it feels like you are getting outpriced with where you're living, is there someone in your life that you could roommate with? And doesn't mean that you're moving in with them or you're sleeping on their couch, but is there someone else who may also be thinking the same thing in your life? Hey, I got to find a more affordable unit. This isn't working. Going back to the discussion of affordable housing with the regular subsidy, I want to be very clear in that wait lists are very long. Each wait list is very different. If you get the preference points, sometimes that will help you because you have, maybe you're a senior or you're disabled or you are a working individual. That will help you move up, but it's not a guarantee that you apply and you're getting a call next month. It's a very drawn out process. But if you think you might be in a situation down the road where it's becoming too hard and you would qualify, but you've been maybe with a private landlord for a long time, but you don't know what the future holds, why not apply now? Why not apply now and wait and see what could happen? Because if you get pulled for a unit, it may be at the right time down the road. And yeah, that's kind of my lowdown. I do want to say also, I know that Landon mentioned it, but the housing problem solving hotline, which the number's in the chat, this is a program that I also run. And so if you are someone who's finding yourself not sure how you're going to afford housing, call that number. Those people are trained to walk people through this process of getting on lists and figuring out how to solve where you're at, what's going on, what are the next steps. Even if you're not about to become homeless, but you're worried what the next 6 months could look like, call and have someone help walk you through what that looks like, because it's difficult to navigate, but I think it's not impossible. And there are resources out there, especially when you meet one of those special classes like senior, disabled, farm worker. The options grow for how fast you could move on the wait list. Chuck.
So just a clarifying question. If someone is homeless, we can refer them to a variety of places where they can get into the different application processes that you talked about. We sort of have a pretty robust network of providers that can help people do all the different complicated things that you're suggesting. But if, say, I'm graduating from UCSB, or my mother-in-law is trying to come to town, or my landlord has raised my rent I mean, I know if my landlord raises my rent, I could probably call the housing problem hotline. But if I'm coming to town new, or if I'm leaving my parents' house or something like that, how would I go after, like, is there a one-stop shop? Is there somewhere I can go to get on all those lists, or do I kind of have to do it on my own? Or is there somebody who could work with me?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So if you're just let's say in the category of low income according to HUD, if you're just like, what do I do? There is not a one-stop shop. And so that requires a lot of um, looking around. But these links are going to be a good start. I would recommend if you are in that situation, get a notebook. Get a notebook that is for your housing search. You will have all your passwords in there, your login information, when you applied to what, the phone numbers of what you applied to. That's where I would start, because if you're starting on this kind of journey, it's going to feel frustrating and you're going to forget what you did. But it depends. There's different help available for different folks. I know for students, for example, like I know UCSB and SBCC both have programs available to help students navigate housing needs. Particularly, we're involved in the one at the City College, but that's through the Basic Needs Department. They should be able to help navigate some of this. For seniors, I think there's an organization. I'm trying to remember their name. Maybe after
Is
this,
it area agency on aging? Is that what you're
yes,
thinking of?
I think so. Yeah, and they help as well, and they can help seniors navigate some of this. So it's it depends on who the person is, but if you literally have no clue where to start, even if you don't feel like you're going to be homeless right away, you actually can call the housing problem solving hotline, and they could help give you a pointer of where to start from. But um it again, keeping a notebook is going to be really important. The other thing that I failed to mention that is really important is keep your information updated. So when you get pulled from one of these lists, you're going to get notified, usually like a letter in the mail that says you've been selected. And you're going to need to they're going to ask for things right away: a copy of your ID, your proof of income, social security verification, bank statements. That's going to be needed right off the bat. And so you can, in this notebook, you can have all these things ready to go for when that time comes. But there is not, that I'm aware of, a one-stop shop. I do know that the housing authorities themselves, for example, I mean, all of these agencies I've listed, they want to help. They're in the business of helping, and so you can call and get support there. Um, but it's not one and done for all of them. It's complicated. Landon.
Um, just on the Housing Authority of the county's website, there is an option to view rental listings. And I believe this is for if you have a housing voucher. So it's just under the housing section. So I just wanted to ask, I assume that, if you're interested in pursuing one of these listings, that you would just contact, the general contact line on here.
Correct. Yes. So what happens is the housing authority maintains a list, which is what you're looking at, of landlords who are wanting to work with folks that have a housing choice voucher. Um, and so that's who is listed here, but it doesn't mean that they aren't willing to work with the general public either. You're more than able to reach out through to these numbers and call and ask for placement, but um, you will pay the full fair market rent. Yeah. Yes.
Mayor Party, you have your hand up.
I do, thank you. And I think Chuck kind of touched on this a little bit but okay, say I'll give you an example of us of someone is about to become homeless. They're living with a friend, and their friend has to move out of the area, or their rent has raised so high they can't afford to stay. They know they're going to be homeless. They can't, but they're not yet homeless. What services are help them? If we're really trying to help prevention, where do you go? What do you do? How do we help them become
Yeah.
not homeless?
Yeah. I love that question because I feel like I've spent the last 2 years trying to answer that question.
I
Um,
bet.
But so one of the programs I run, the Prevention, Diversion, and Retention Team, this is exactly why they exist. We've recently received county funds and expanded this program. Um, and so we are serving the whole county, and that's the housing problem solving hotline feeds into this team. And so if someone calls this hotline number, what should happen is that the person receiving the call will meet with them in person within 24 hours. And that when they meet with them in person within 24 hours, they'll have a discovery conversation, which is really trying to figure out what are all your options, what have you explored, and what is the imminent issue. And then from there, we are able to help navigate into the next housing, hopefully to avoid 0 nights homeless. That is the entire goal of the program. Sometimes we're able to, like in this example you listed, sometimes we can negotiate with the friend who they're staying on the friend's couch for a while. Sometimes we can negotiate with the friend a little bit of rent amount and get the person added to the lease. And then all of a sudden it works out and now they're a member of that household. Sometimes that's clearly not going to work out. And then we're looking for a new housing opportunity for that participant. For example, this team last last quarter, within the last couple months, there was a fire at a unit in Santa Barbara. And this unit really had affordable rents for people, and people have lived there for years. 4 households were displaced, and the team has helped relocate all 4 households while working with other nonprofits along the way to get, hotel stays and different things. And so, really, that is why that whole team exists. And I tell my whole department, anybody who needs to have this number saved in their phone. The housing problem solving hotline number, save it in your phone because you don't need it maybe today, but maybe you're going to be at a conversation at coffee with someone tomorrow and will need it. And so they are really available to support with that exact case. And the one thing we ask in that program is that someone is willing to help work on it. If it's someone who's just calling and they want, hey, can you pay $5,000 for my rent for the next 3 months?
Right.
We're really trying to be creative, and that's not what we're about. But we exist really for that exact purpose because we, like you saw the numbers from Chuck, if we could slow the number coming in, we're housing people, then when those numbers meet, we've met our goal.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Alexis? Thank you so much, Alexis. That's really, really helpful, just clear step by step. We're going to go now to Alma Harmson with Partners in Housing Solutions to share a little bit about the work they do working with private landlords throughout Santa Barbara County. So Alma, do you want me to share the slides or would you like to share your
Yeah, that'd
screen?
be great. Thank you.
All right, let me pull them up.
And in the meantime, I'll introduce myself. Again, I'm Alma Harmson. I'm with Partners in Housing Solutions. I'm the executive director, and we've been around for about 10 years now, serving Santa Barbara County. We are a nonprofit that's dedicated to helping individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness. So a lot of what I'll be covering is specifically tailored to folks who are already unhoused. We also work with folks who are at risk that are already enrolled in our program. And I'll just kind of wait for, I just have a couple
Yes, here
slides
it's
to
coming
share.
up right now. There you go.
Thank you. So what we do is we provide housing navigation, case management, and support services. We connect households with available rental units through a network of property owners and partnerships. And we help people stabilize income, benefits, and supports. We also support tenants and property owners throughout the housing placement process and beyond. So again, a lot of what we do is specifically focused on folks who are already unhoused. And one thing I would strongly recommend if you or someone you know is experiencing homelessness is to start by, entering the homeless system, which is through the coordinated entry process. And for us specifically, that's how we were able to serve folks is when we get them referred. And having that entry point piece will help them not just get connected to let's say, partners, but to other providers who can help navigate, as Alexa shared, a very complicated journey sometimes to reach affordable housing. Our program was designed by rental property owners, so a lot of what we do is geared toward accessing private rentals. We do also help folks navigate the affordable housing, the traditional public housing options. And London, if we can go to the next slide, please. So our goal is to help people exit homelessness swiftly by securing housing that they could afford and maintain long term. And what that looks like for us is coordinating support. Our name includes partners because we work in partnership with other agencies and organizations, rental property owners, and community to build a support network for the folks who we're assisting. So again, if it's someone who's already experiencing homelessness, really getting connected to the system of care is super important because then they have, you know, a group of agencies that can really come in and help. One of our first initial things that we do is figure out what types of support they're eligible for, what are they already connected to, and what can they potentially be connected to. So that could be the traditional affordable housing options, through public housing, through the different other nonprofits and things like that. But they are lengthy lists. So we do try to figure out what can we do now. Is there any possibility for the folks who we're working with to increase their income? Is there, shared housing opportunities? So we really work together to build a housing plan. Now, if you are someone isn't in the system, this is something that they could still do on their own. They can still create a housing plan for themselves and figure out, really going through the expenses and seeing what can I and can I not afford? What can I do without? So those are like just preliminary pieces that we do. And we really look, a lot through our network of rental property owners. So one of the things that we do is unlock access to available and affordable housing. So while there is not a whole lot, there are some really, nuggets in there, diamonds in the rough, but they're really difficult to get into. So really just being able to present to a rental property owner, how you can afford the rent is huge, right? And thinking about these things ahead of time is important. So when it's someone who we're working with, obviously we're helping them come up with that by connecting them to programs, whether it's through us that we're going to be helping them maybe for a few months until they're able to increase their income, while maybe they start receiving benefits or whatever the case may be, or if they're going into shared housing until certain things come into place. So we're trying to get them into housing, not when they've reached the goal, but now, so that they can reach that goal sooner. And really working with rental property owners has been key for us. So one piece of advice that I would give someone who maybe isn't connected to us or to another provider is really, if you're going after a private rental, is get to know the person who's renting it. Sometimes it's a management company, sometimes it's a private owner. Sharing really how you can sustain this unit, it goes a long way. We don't like to divulge information, obviously, on what's going on with our particular clients, but really humanizing them, and showing, right, like, just because maybe I have bad credit or I probably have an eviction on my record doesn't mean that I'll be a bad tenant. So we've built relationships with many property owners over the years, and through our work, they trust us. And a lot of the folks who we assist get housed with private owners for that reason. But definitely, I would just suggest, if you're not already connected to someone, advocate for yourself. It's huge, and it can go a long way. Another thing that we do is we follow through. So once we house someone, we stay with them, and we stay with the rental property owner as well to make sure that things are working out, and we provide supports on both ends. So if this is, again, someone who isn't already connected to support, just make sure that you continue looking for those supports. If you don't already have a care team behind you to help you navigate all this, start looking for them and stay connected to the community. We live in an area where, yes, it's very expensive and it's difficult to find affordable housing, but we're also very rich in the sense of opportunities and community that is willing to help. And there's a lot of programs out there. So really just looking at the resources that are available. And that's really in a nutshell what we do is find those resources, bring them together, create this package, present whether it be to a rental property owner or maybe just help navigate that process. But it really just goes a long way to bring that all together and advocate.
Well, thank you, Alma. Any questions for Alma about the work of Partners in Housing Solutions? Seeing none, I think I just wanted to mention one last thing. So with SB Act, we've worked with the county to create a brochure that is kind of a map. We're calling it the Journey to Affordable Housing. So I'm going to pull that up on the screen. And this is primarily for people who are currently experiencing homelessness. So I just wanted to note that it may not be the right map for everyone who's looking for affordable housing, but we do have kind of the general step-by-step of what it looks like if you are currently experiencing homelessness to move towards getting into housing. And so this resource is available online. I can share a link to it in the chat window as well. But it's just a simple handout that you can pass out to somebody if they're wondering about how they can move from being homeless to being housed. But as Alexis mentioned, for those who might be currently housed and are concerned about housing, the housing problem solving hotline exists. And so we really want to try and refer people there if they are still housed, but maybe on the cusp of losing. So with all these resources in mind, we want to open it up and just see if there's any other general questions about housing from everyone here today. Yes, I'm not sure who the iPhone is, but you can go ahead.
It's Irene Russo.
Irene.
Let's see. I have two questions. The first is, I work for this. I give food every week for the Showers of Blessing. I give pizzas on Thursdays, and I'm just wondering if all this information is available there, because they travel around the county, and they have the best possibility to give everybody an option and to be there for them. So I'm just wondering. And the other thing is, I've been feeding a lady on Hollister Avenue for about 2 months every day. I believe she's homeless. I believe it. She sits on the bus stop and she has a black and white umbrella. And I just wish that I could do something to get her in housing. She doesn't speak. She can't speak, but she can hear what people are saying. And I don't know, it's just, I guess I'm just here because it's very upsetting to me. I mean, she misses me when I don't come, and I bring her really good food. I cook for her every day and I bring her food, and she trusts me, but she says she doesn't trust anybody and she won't give any information out. So if anybody knows her, please keep on her. And I don't know what can be done, but I just wish something could be done for her.
Irene, do you feel comfortable putting your email or another way to contact you
Of
in the chat?
course. Yeah.
And then answering your first question about Showers of Blessing. So yes, I mean, part of the role of many of there are quite a few providers on this call, and they regularly attend the Showers of Blessing. They also attend Mary's Lunch. Mary has her hand up to try to support the population of people that are homeless there. So we're constantly, making this information available. And for someone who is homeless, the best way to start to connect with a case manager and start moving forward is to register with the coordinated entry system. And that is available at the Showers of Blessing.
Okay. That's what I was wondering, because that the Showers of Blessing is everywhere. And so that's the most accessible place for everybody. And they get a piece of pizza if they take a shower. And I provide the pizza from Costco, so it's really good.
That's
And
great.
people like it.
Yeah. No, thanks, Irene.
But nobody has an idea on
Well, that's why I think you should post your
Well, I
contact
do.
information, because
Oh,
somebody might
okay.
have an idea and they can provide it. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah. She goes by Sister.
Right.
And yeah, and I've spoken with her. I try to, get something for her, a drink or some food, every so often, but and Ellen has tried to connect with her from CityNet, so she's not been ignored, that's for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
There's a component that makes it difficult in getting her housed, and it may be a behavioral wellness component, but it's also a spiritual component, and she feels that God has directed her to live outside.
Correct.
And so, I'm a person of faith, so I don't argue with her. I don't try to steer her away from that, but it makes it really impossible to get her involved in housing programs because that's not her desire. So, you know, I love your compassion, and I'm really excited to hear that that you're feeding her hot food every day. That's really wonderful.
I make her special food, and she looks forward to. But I mean, if anybody goes by, please give her something to eat. I'm not sure that she eats that much. I don't know, but I feed her every day, and she's very grateful.
And that's wonderful. She's very cautious about taking things from people or food from people. So I'm so glad to hear that she trusts you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I don't show up, she says, "Where have you been?" So I don't know.
Good job.
It just breaks my heart because she's such a sweet lady, and she's told me a lot of personal stuff that I just can't believe she's still alive. But anyway, I just wish that somebody could convince her to get housing, because she definitely qualifies. She's in her 70s.
Oh, thanks, Irene. Yeah, lots of tough stories to be sure. Any other comments or questions with our last remaining minutes? We don't have much time, but was there anyone here who had any other questions or concerns related to homelessness in general? Okay. Seeing none, I'll say thank you to everyone for being here today. As I mentioned, our next meeting will be on May 18th at 12 p.m. and we'll send out an email reminder for that. But otherwise, we hope you all have a great week. Thanks so much for making time to be here today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.